It was supposed to be just another rainy evening in the city, chaotic, impersonal, and indifferent. The kind of evening where horns blared without apology, headlights blurred in the downpour, and people rushed under umbrellas, more concerned about wet shoes than the world falling apart around them. But beneath that steel sky, at a traffic light no one really noticed, something happened that silenced even the thunder in one man's heart. A luxury car, sleek, black, commanding, slowed to a stop as a tiny fist tapped gently against the tinted window. She couldn't have been more than 7. Her dress was soaked and clinging to her frail frame, her hands trembling, her eyes wide not with fear but with something heavier, something like desperation carved into the soul. The driver lowered the window halfway. The little girl looked up through the rain, her lips pale, her voice barely louder than the storm. "Sir, she's too weak to beg. Can you, please help?" She hesitated, eyes flicking nervously toward the back of the car. "She's in the trunk." Before we go deeper into this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Rapple of Hope to support stories that move hearts and open eyes. Leave a comment to let us know what touched you most. It truly means the world. The man inside the car was Rayan Mayer, the CEO of Zainvera Holdings, a name synonymous with power, wealth, and precision. Billion-dollar mergers were decided with a twitch of his brow. Yet in that moment, as he stepped out into the rain without even closing his umbrella, the cold rush of water down his collar was nothing compared to the chill settling inside him. He walked toward the back of his car slowly, the little girl following, barefoot and shivering. The driver watched from his seat, unsure if this was a scene unfolding in real life or some twisted, cinematic hallucination. Rayan's hands, used to signing contracts and dictating markets, trembled slightly as he opened the trunk. The moment the lid lifted, he stopped breathing. Inside, curled up like a discarded doll, was another child, barely alive. Her lips were blue. Her bones, sharp beneath torn clothes. Her eyes fluttered open at the sudden light and locked onto Rayan's with a gaze he would never, ever forget. It was not just hunger or pain. It was resignation. She had accepted she was going to die in the dark. And someone had taught her that the world didn't care. The younger girl, the one who had spoken, clung to Rayan's coat. "Please don't be mad at her. She didn't mean to hide. I told her we'd find someone to help, but we waited so long, she's too weak now." It was the beginning of something that would unravel every belief Rayan held about the world, and himself. He ordered his driver to take them both to the hospital immediately. The older girl, later identified as Era, was diagnosed with severe malnutrition, hypothermia, and multiple untreated injuries. Her sister, Amal, had been keeping her alive with scraps she begged or stole from nearby restaurants. They had been living in an abandoned construction site for weeks after escaping an abusive uncle who had taken them in when their parents died in a tragic fire 2 years prior. No schools, no family, no one to look after them. Only each other. And the street. As Era lay unconscious in the hospital, Rayan sat in the waiting room, drenched, stunned, and silent. He had built empires, but he couldn't stop seeing the face in the trunk. That emptiness. That surrender. The kind he had once known himself, but buried so deep he'd nearly forgotten. He remembered now, a much younger Rayan in a village no one remembered, watching his mother die in childbirth because there was no clinic nearby. His father, bitter, violent, and broken, vanished days later. He had survived only because of the kindness of a teacher who took him in and pushed him toward education. Rayan had vowed never to be powerless again. But in chasing power, had he forgotten why he started? Amal sat quietly beside him in oversized hospital clothes, chewing on the biscuit a nurse had given her. She kept glancing toward her sister's room. Her eyes were too tired for her age. "Do you think she'll be okay, sir?" she asked. Rayan looked at her, not with pity, but with a depth of responsibility that felt like it had been waiting to awaken. "Yes," he finally said, "but only if you don't have to do this alone anymore." And he meant it. The coming weeks were a whirlwind. Era's condition stabilized. Amal, once reluctant and guarded, began smiling in small doses. Rayanne visited every day. Not out of guilt, but something deeper. Something like healing. He arranged for legal custody after hearing their full story from social workers. There was a case filed against their uncle, who had not reported them missing. Rayanne funded the legal process silently, using his influence to ensure they never had to see that man again. But this wasn't a fairy tale fix. Era struggled with night terrors, waking up crying, sometimes screaming, convinced she was still locked in darkness. Amal hoarded food at first, hiding bread under pillows, terrified it might be taken. Rayanne had to learn patience. And presence. He turned his guest house into a home. He hired a gentle older woman, Fatima, who had once lost her own children, to help care for the girls. Therapy was arranged, school admissions processed. Slowly, warmth returned to their lives. For the first time in over a decade, Rayanne's massive house felt alive. Laughter echoed in its halls. Little socks lay scattered on marble floors. And every night before bed, Amal would sneak into his study to ask if she could show him her drawings or read to him. It became routine. Her joy was quiet but fierce. She once whispered, "I used to dream that a giant cloud would come and take us away to a soft place. But I think, you're our cloud." Rayanne smiled. He didn't know how to tell her that she was saving him, too. Months passed. Era grew stronger. She began dancing again, something she said her mother had taught her long ago. Her first performance at school brought tears to Fatima's eyes and a standing ovation. Rayanne sat front row, clapping harder than anyone else, trying and failing to hide how much it meant to him. What began as an encounter at a traffic light had become a purpose. Rayanne established a trust fund in the name of their late parents and launched a new charitable wing of his company, Project Trunklight, aimed at supporting street children and providing emergency shelters for runaway and orphaned minors. The name was strange to some, but for Rayanne, it was the exact place where light had returned to his life. One day, as the family sat together watching a storm from the window, Amal crawled into his lap and asked, "If we hadn't stopped your car that day, where would we be now?" Rayanne held her tighter. "You stopped the right car," he said quietly, "but maybe I was the one who needed saving." And in that still moment, lightning lit up the sky, not to frighten, but to remind them how bright the world could be after darkness. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of the silent battles so many fight and the power of a single act of kindness, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Rapple of Hope for more true inspired stories that touch the soul.